Hello, everyone. I want to talk to you in this video about productivity tools and practices. Just to start off, this is not about working harder, grind culture. I think that if you're going to be productive, you burning yourself out by working super, super hard is actually not as productive as working less and getting more done and incorporating rest into that so that you can work longer, more sustained with less effort and energy. So I'm a big proponent of working to live, not living to work, and I just want to set the record straight that this isn't going to be about grinding and shaming you into doing like that you're not doing enough work. I'm Drew, and I have 15 years of being a freelancer. I have 10 years inside decentralized organizations. I'm an artist, a web developer, and an organizer. I do activism and all that fun stuff. I'm also neurodivergent, and I don't think there's any spelling mistakes in here. But if you see me make spelling mistakes, that's cool. I'm sorry. I'm kind of into it. And you can reach me at dhornbein. How cool is that? Okay. So productivity kind of starts with task lists, and we all know we all have our to-do lists, and to-do lists are nice if you're just jotting down some tasks, but once you start getting a bunch of them, they can get really unwieldy. They're hard to edit. It's hard to prioritize things, and they can get long and scary, and that creates this paralysis. I don't know if you've ever looked at a big task list and been like, I'm going to just not do this because this is horrifying. So one thing that you can do to get our task list under control is breaking them up in some way. So I like to break them up in tasks that I'm going to do today, tasks that I want to get done this week, tasks that I'm going to do this month. So that's temporal, time-based. And if you want to see a really cool, effective way to do task lists, I highly recommend looking into bullet journals or BOLOs. I'll probably do a video on those. People can get a little intense about them, but don't get intense about it. And it's actually a pretty useful thing. But what I want to introduce you is the Kanban board. So we're taking our task list and we're turning it on its side. We're taking those temporal categories and turning them into columns, and then our tasks go into these columns. And once you have a Kanban board, Kanban is a Japanese word that just means sticker board. You can kind of see one up here next to me. I have stickers on a board. That's a Kanban. And this is just one way to arrange your stickers on a board into columns. And you can take those columns and take your tasks, turn them into sticky notes, and you can move them through this visual process. So I have my task that I want to do this month, and then when the week arrives that I want to do that, I'm moving all of those tasks from, that I want to get done this month into the week that I want to do them. And then, on the day that I want to do it, I'm going to move it onto the day, and then I'm going to see just the two things that I want to do today. And then when I'm ready to actually do it, I move it to doing. So I know I have I can visualize what I'm doing. And you don't necessarily have to do this. This is good training wheels to have the stickers and actually move them along. But it's really moving tasks through a process. And we're just visualizing the process. And everything ends up in the done column, which becomes important later. So the Kanban provides you with steps. And this is kind of a simple version. This is a 4-step process of everything is in the backlog. That's where everything goes. And then stuff gets ready to do. And then eventually you do it, and then you get done with it. But you can have a process that looks any sort of way, and you can it doesn't have to be columns moving left from right. You can move them right to left. You can move them from the outside to the inner circle. You can be really creative with your stickers on a board. But the thing is, it's just about having a process that tasks go through. And one of the cool things that I like about the Kanban is when you have the backlog, and like this Kanban is available to you, when an idea, like you're like, oh, I need to make sure that I buy a water bottle for my dog, you can take that thing, that task that needs to get done, and you can immediately put it somewhere. I can drop it into the backlog here, and all of a sudden, I don't have to hold that task, so I can stay focused. Really, what I'm driving at here, and all my work around this, is just about like maintaining focus. So ultimately, the Kanban is this cycle. This is where the done column really comes in. You're setting intentions. You're saying like, this week I want to get these things done. This month I want to get these things done. That's an intention that you're setting. And then you're moving the tasks into your work, and you're spending most of your time doing creation work, the actual like getting the task done. And then you keep the tasks around, and you start to reflect on, okay, well, how did that intention setting go? How did my I said I was going to do this many tasks, and I can visualize on this tool that I got maybe like 50% of them done. Why did it only do half? Did I try too much, or did I get distracted? Having time to look back at how you did work is going to help you iteratively develop better habits around work. And so we can look at this cycle in this way. And I call this the productivity cycle. So we're setting intentions. We're just taking a little time at the beginning to set our intentions, to get what we're going to work on sorted out. And then we're doing the work. We're spending most of our time actually being productive. And the next slide will be about kind of how to be focused in these work sprints. And then we reflect, and then we go back to the beginning. And so that's like this little cycle. And the cycle actually scales into a kind of nice tempo. So here is maybe my day, and I'm setting my intentions for the day. I'm doing work, and then I'm reflecting on how the day went. And then I can fit that into a longer period of time. So maybe here's 3 days, and then here's a couple of weeks down here. So this cycle of intention setting, doing work, reflecting, or as my mom would call it in her history of doing this kind of stuff, plan, do, review. That's sort of the kind of corporate, I imagine that is like corporate speak. Plan, do, review. But it's all the same stuff. You're making a plan, you're doing the plan, and then you're reviewing how the plan went so that you can make a better plan next time. And that's a key piece too, is like, you don't want to be beating yourself up like, oh, I didn't get all the tasks done. That's grind culture. That's toxic. When you don't get something done, that's a signal. Like, why am I not getting this thing done? Is it because I don't actually care about doing this? Well, that's going to be a challenge if you have to do a task. But it also might mean that your hobby in crocheting cat memes maybe isn't actually something you want to be doing, and you can reflect on that and see like, oh, maybe I want to be doing painting rather than crocheting. So really taking the time to stop and wonder about why you didn't get something done, or maybe you got way more done and you need to wonder about that. It's just about being curious, not about judging or like getting down on yourself. So in the company that I work for called The Hum, where we help companies implement stuff like this for larger teams, which is really cool about this pattern is you can do this for your own work and for yourself. And these patterns actually scale really nicely into team environments. So at the Hum, we do this like 4-week cycle, or 2-week cycle rather. And we start here at the beginning, and we move through, and in the middle we have kind of a midweek check-in, and then we have this reflection period at the end. And our 3-month cycle mirrors the same pattern, where we're checking in. This is just a week, or a 2-week sprint out of there, and we have a 6 weeks in a season. And it just fits really nicely together where we do this work and then we have a big reflection time at the end. And at the beginning of our cycle, we set our cycle, we set goals for the 3-month period. And we can start to see, you can start to break this down and see when I do, the amount of work I can get done in a 2-week sprint, I can start to see like what is possible to get done in a 3-week sprint. So it gives us this ability to really start to plan ahead in these different time scales. And it's really kind of just an elegant way of thinking about your time, because this can then, 4 of these turn into a year, and then 7 years turns into, you can start to do the math on like, oh, how many cycles of work am I going to have in all of these times, and what can I possibly get done? And as you get better at reflecting on these things, you're going to get better at setting actually like reasonable intentions, and you're going to start to see how you can do work over a longer period of time and what you can get done. Okay, cool. So let's zoom in here to just a single day. And I want to talk to you about a way of being focused in your actual work. So we've set our day, and now we're going to get to work. And our work, we're going to try and work on one thing, because our brains can actually only focus on one thing at a time. It's a kind of a common misconception. Like people say, I'm good at multitasking. You're good at switching tasks, but just from a brain perspective, from a neurologic perspective, you're only able to do one thing at a time. You can kind of like move between things very quickly, and sometimes I really like to work that way. It's kind of chaotic and manic and fun. But when I really need to get something done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, here's the one thing that I'm going to get done. And for the next 25 to 50 minutes, I'm going to focus on doing just that one thing. And so our brains, the research says that a 25-minute to 50-minute sprint of work, like sitting down, being focused, is going to be the best timing. And this technique is called the Pomodoro Technique or Pomodoro Sprint. And Pomodoro just means a tomato timer, like one of those kitchen timers. So you would just turn that thing to 25 minutes or maybe 35 minutes in this example, and you would not do anything else but the one thing that you said you're going to focus on for those 35 minutes. And then it goes off, and then you take a break. And we know that moving regularly, getting up from your seat and moving around is good for you. And the breaks allow you to do more of these focused blocks. And the breaks are really, I think, very, very useful, very interesting. You want to make sure that your rest time is really restful, that you're standing up, you're moving around. This can be a time where you shift your focus. And it's actually, some research has shown that it's good to, do something totally different. If you're doing like typing, go ahead and do some doodling, and walk into the other room and, get a coffee or a tea. This is a time when you can check your notifications and things like that. So let's look at, here's how I do it. I put maybe 1 or 2 of these blocks of sprints into my day. So I will block out time on my calendar that I'm saying, I'm not going to be disturbed during this time. I'm not going to check my notifications. I'm not going to do anything except for the one thing that I want to do. And what I think this allows us to do, so we have like some work time, a little break, some work time, a little break, some work time. So it's a 3 sprint focus session. And in 3 hours of this deep focus, I can actually get more done than I would if I was loosely focusing on a bunch of different things throughout the day. That's called shallow focus. So some of the tips here are doing one thing at a time, actually resting, like I said, actually shifting your focus to something else that's like, it's like taking a little break. If you are running a long distance, you want to be able to run longer, and actually taking some breaks in between will allow your body to rest so that you can, have the endurance to keep going. Having your next task ready. So if I'm focusing on one thing and I go into deep focus mode and I get into flow, and then I'm done, but I'm still in focus. You don't want to. You can maintain that focus by having the next thing all queued up. So it's like, cool, I finished doing this video, and now I'm gonna go straight into editing the video, and that's when and having that next task set up so that if I finish the first one in my focus time, I don't lose focus. And then, of course, turning off all your notifications. The thing that's going to get you every time is something, the social media apps, everyone's vying for your attention, and you really want to try and avoid letting them steal your precious attention away, because you have stuff you want to get done. And a really cool place I used to facilitate for, called Cave Day. They run focused work sessions basically all day, every day, all the time, online, and you can drop in there and get sort of peer support. It's just a Zoom call where you are doing this pattern of focused work with a bunch of people, and having people to do it with is a really great way to make that happen. So cool. We went over Kanban, taking your to-do list, breaking it up into small pieces so that you can move it through a process and be doing one thing at a time and know what you're going to do, and then reflect about what you did. And while you're doing that work, you're trying to, we've learned about implementing blocks of time where we do deep focus, where we turn off our notifications, where we focus on doing one thing, and we set a timer and rest between that. All right, so the next one on this will be about goals, and I often run productivity workshops online, so through the Hum. So go to the Hum if you have, if you want to, learn more about this for yourself or your team. And yeah, that's all. Thanks for your attention, and I really appreciate it. And if you want to reach out, email me, send me a message. Okay, bye.